Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Ninsel, host of AZ Illustrated Politics, coming to you tonight from AZPM's Studio B. On tonight's show, we'll talk with Tucson Mayor Jonathan Rothschild about his recent conversation with President Barack Obama and find out what the mayor wants from the White House. Then we'll talk with Pima County Supervisor Richard Elias about plans to lure Major League Soccer, a potential bond election, and the illegal shooting of a mountain lion at Colossal Cave. That's all coming up on AZ Illustrated Politics, but first, a look at today's top stories.
The Federal Bureau of Reclamation says by 2016 there's a 50% chance that Arizona and other Colorado River states will face water shortages from the river. The Bureau is reducing the amount of water released between the Glen Canyon Dam on the Arizona-Utah border and Lake Mead. Right now, that doesn't mean a loss of water for Arizona, but hydrologists say if the drought continues, those shortages could happen in just a few years. The Pima Community College dental program is a lot like cosmetology education. After the students learn the skills they practice, dental hygiene on members of the public who come to the college's dental clinic. The clinic now is getting a federal grant of more than $3 million to expand that program. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Tucson Mayor Jonathan Rothschild recently had a chance to meet with Barack Obama during the president's visit to Arizona last week. Mayor Rothschild joins me in the studio tonight to talk about his conversation with the president and more this evening. Mayor Rothschild, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jim. It's always a pleasure.
So you had a chance to sit down with President Obama last week, and you ended up asking him for some money for some highways. What's the thinking there?
Well, I did, and it's always an honor to meet with the President of the United States. My time with him was not long, but we had some time to discuss some pretty important issues. My first ask to him was to help us with federal funds for money out of the Mariposa Port to build out the road connecting to the I-19, and then up the I-10 where we need that. It is truly my view after a year and a half of doing this that that road is our road out of recession, but we're going to need federal help to get it built.
And you've been trying to build up the trade relationship between Mexico and southern Arizona. How is that going? What's the next step?
Well, I think it's going well. You know, a year ago, Mayor Stanton from Phoenix and I traveled down to Mexico City, and at that time, the mission was really to change the Mexican government's image of Arizona in particular, and to somewhat the United States. And we basically said, we are not a few of those politicians in Phoenix who you read a lot about. The people of Arizona are different. We welcome you. We want to be your partner in economy. And we worked real hard for a year, and I can tell you, I heard today that Speaker of the House Tobin is taking a delegation down, and so we've turned the conversation. This year, when we went down to Mexico, it was really about getting down to business, and we met with a number of secretaries of departments, transportation, communication, immigration, and we got the commitment from the Mexican government to build out the I-15 from Guaymas to Nogales, Sonora. We got commitment for infrastructure growth along that area of the road. But there's still more we need to do, and we need to continue to build on that relationship. Having built on that relationship, we need to come across to our side of the border and talk to our state legislators, our congressmen, and federal officials like the president, and build it out on this side. And I will tell you, Jim, one of the other things I talked to the president about, because he has an immigration bill that is having trouble in the House. And we talked about the strategy of saying a prosperous region, a prosperous northern Mexico and Arizona is a secure region. And let's take some of that money that we're going to focus in the area and put it towards customs and put it towards technology improvements. So hopefully it was of some help.
And changing topics, you've recently embarked on an effort to end veterans' homelessness here in southern Arizona by 2015. Ambitious, certainly. What's the plan?
Well, again, this came from a president's initiative. The administration chose 20 cities in the United States to give additional benefit to. In this case, it's not a lot of benefit, but 75 additional vouchers, federal vouchers for homes for veterans. And I've been actually quite pleased how the community has come together around that just additional little stimulus to work to end veterans homelessness. The way we do it is we get the groups in Tucson who are concerned about this, and that's the veterans groups, those who concern themselves with homelessness, some social service agencies like the American Red Cross, like Primavera, like Amity actually, who is now going to have some money for that, and get housing built and get people into the system and into homes. And in the first month, we placed 54 veterans in homes. In that regard, if anyone wants to help, if you go to 51homes.net, we need donations of house supplies. We need help moving veterans into homes, and it's rewarding work.
And how many veterans are we talking about here?
It was interesting. I think one of the reasons we got the attention was because Tucson has done a decent job bringing their count down from, I think 2 years ago, 550 to about 350. So now we're probably under 300. So we can do it. The issue being, it's always people moving in and out of homelessness. And so it's not going to be just 300 people, particularly with everyone returning from Afghanistan, from Iraq, the issues that are arising. We anticipate that we probably have to have a capacity of about 1,200 to get it done by 2015, but I'm hopeful we can do it.
And another big initiative you have now is the Reading Seed program, hoping to get 500 new volunteers to help kids in K through 8 or K through third grade learn how to read. What's the strategy here?
Well, Jim, the first thing is the importance of getting our youth to be reading at grade level by grade 3. Every indicator we look at says that that's a real turning point from learning to read to reading to learn. And when we look at the demographic indicators for high school dropouts, going to college, social indicators, divorce, suicide, drug use, those children who are literate by grade 3 perform much better. In this state, last year, the legislature determined that if you couldn't read by third grade, you were going to hold back a year. I don't know that that's the best policy, but it certainly has caught everyone's attention. And so we really need to focus on that. What Reading Seed is a program that you volunteer for, where you go into a classroom and you read with a child once a week for an entire school year, maybe 2 children. And last year, the Reading Seed program had 500 volunteers and reached 2,000 children. My goal is to double that to another 500 volunteers, another 2,000 children. We are told that there's 18,000 children in our county who need this help. And that's our future, Jim. You know, we talk about economics, we talk about economic growth, but unless we have a job-ready workforce, okay, it's going to be hard to get that economic growth. And this is no quick fix. This is long-term, but it's the best long-term strategy you can have.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on downtown. Developer Scott Steitler has a deal in the works to try to build a boutique hotel on Broadway Boulevard down on 5th Avenue there. Mm-hmm. And he's looking for some help from the Rio Nuevo board, a loan of, I think, $4.3 million to help with the parking garage there. Is that a good idea for the Rio Nuevo board to get involved with this?
I think so. I haven't seen the detail of the deal yet, and you know, things always can get caught in the detail. But the idea of the Rio Nuevo board taking their asset and contributing it to a hotel, which is badly, badly needed downtown, is a good idea. What it will also do is potentially leverage some what's called 108 loan development money, which is used for these purposes, and allow Mr. Steitler to proceed. So I'm hoping that sometime in September we can see what that deal looks like and hopefully move it along. But it'd be great to have a hotel, a good hotel downtown.
And as long as we're talking about downtown, can you give us an update on the streetcar? I guess the tracks are essentially done now. When will we actually see people riding on the streetcar? And there's obviously concern that this is going to be a boondoggle.
Well, between boondoggle and the fact that we were able to put several $100 million into our local economy and keep construction workers working and keep road people working, the fact of the matter is we've had, between public and private investment, already $900 million of investment on the streetcar line. The community's never seen anything like that. And we talk about the revitalization of downtown and everything that's happened downtown. And there's, I've been here since I was born, and I remember the old downtown. This is the first time in 40 years that this downtown has a heartbeat. And it's a pretty strong heartbeat. And I got to give a lot of that to the streetcar. Now, what's going to happen is next month, we'll see our first streetcar here, and it will be running. And what the community has to understand is that the federal requirements are that we cannot actually use the streetcar till we have all 8 cars here, and they're all running. So for a year, or close to a year, by next July, we have to be going for the coming school year. We will all see the streetcar running through downtown, but we won't be able to get on it. But let's not complain. It's what's required. And this time next year, Jim, you and I will be walking out from the studio and going downtown to the Rialto or the Hub or someplace, and we won't have to use our car.
Well, I look forward to that. Grand Canyon University recently announced that it would be opening up in another branch in Maricopa County rather than here in Tucson. It comes after a big blow-up over the idea of using El Rio Golf Course as a site for that. Was that an opportunity that Tucson missed out on?
Well, I can tell you, Jim, I'm disappointed the fact that we did not get Grand Canyon University here. I can also tell you that I've spoken with the folks at Grand Canyon University. They really were looking in the East Valley primarily. They had 6 sites there, and they have talked to me about coming down to Tucson next. Now, that may be a couple years. Everybody is disappointed and unhappy when an opportunity like that doesn't just fall into our laps. But I'm convinced that things like that don't come easily. There is a lot that goes into making those deals happen. Unfortunately, we didn't get far enough along in the deal to really see whether it could have happened. And hopefully we learn from this experience, and the next time GCU comes around, and they will come around, we'll get them.
And let's talk about Broadway Boulevard, some changes afoot with the potential widening over there. The plan calls for 8 lanes, and now there's talk perhaps with the RTA that there's a possibility of being able to reduce that to possibly 6 lanes. There are those who don't want to see it widened at all. Your thoughts on what the future of Broadway should look like?
Well, the issue really is functionality. And the original RTA plan, it was a bond, voter passed bond, and the RTA has been very good about saying, look, we build what the voters ask for on time and on budget. And for the most part, they have done that. In this case, as time goes on, what you really need may change. And so I went to the RTA board, along with Councilmember Kozachik's impetus, and said, tell us what functionality is, because that's what the bond says. And so they're having that conversation. I don't know what the result's going to be. We should see it pretty soon. My guess would be that the 6 lane with some multimodal uses will probably be where we will end up, and that's probably a pretty good compromise.
Air Force chose Maricopa County for the F-35 mission. Is that trouble for the future of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base?
I don't think the F-35 itself is trouble for the future of Davis-Monthan. The F-35 runs through the Air National Guard, and it's on a different chain of command from Davis-Monthan. But we need to be concerned about Davis-Monthan, and we need to do everything as a community to support Davis-Monthan. The real challenge is probably the drawdown of the A-10s, and those are going to happen over the next few years, long before the F-35 would get here and be operational. And one of the things, in fact, I was with Colonel Blanchard yesterday from Davis-Monthan, and the conversation is, what are the new technologies that the Air Force is going to that we can draw to Davis-Monthan. Davis-Monthan is a very strong base. It has 16 different lines of operation, but we have to be, as a community, supportive and diligent.
All right, and that's all the time we have time for. Thank you very much for visiting us, and we will be right back with Pima County Supervisor Richard Elias.
Fury spilled in Cairo streets again today. Tens of thousands of Muslim Brotherhood supporters launched bitter protests, defying the government's state of emergency.
The wave of violence hasn't stopped in Egypt. We get the latest on the mounting death toll and the crisis gripping the country.
Then disclosures the U.S. National Security Agency violated privacy rules and overstepped its authority thousands of times. Margaret Warner gets an update on the surveillance programs from Carol Lenig of the Washington Post.
The Kepler Space Telescope, once used to search for Earth-like planets, is crippled, and NASA says it can't be fixed. We explore its legacy and ask if it can still be used for scientific research.
Under a pristine rainforest in Ecuador lie more than 800 million barrels of oil. The country's president had asked the world to ante up in exchange for a promise not to drill. But that plan is being scrapped, as Hari Srinivasan reports.
Mark Shields and David Brooks analyze the week's news.
That's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
Tonight on Arizona Week, how do we keep growing the workforce and strengthening the economy in Arizona? What's working and what's not?
If a community's not addressing this, I would venture to say they're not going to be winners in the future.
It's at our peril that we don't address our education as part of developing a competitive talent pool.
That's tonight at 8:30 on PBS 6.
We may no longer have Major League Baseball teams training in the springtime, but Pima County is looking to lure Major League Soccer teams in Tucson in their stead. Here to talk about that effort and more is Pima County Supervisor Richard Elias. Supervisor, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Jim. It's great to be here with you all.
Let's talk about this plan over at the Keno Sports Complex for the soccer teams. The county is spending, I think, $280,000 to develop a training camp over there. Where's the upside with that?
Well, it's about bringing new dollars into our community. It's about creating a great amenity for people to be able to enjoy in the springtime. And it's also about improving facilities for our youth and amateur athletes here in the Tucson area. All those fields, all that stadium is going to be open to those young kids to play. There's not going to be any restrictions that would keep them off because they're being used by pro players at the same time.
And what's the economic impact of having that spring training here?
Well, you know, it's going to be huge. FC Tucson estimates that it's going to be about $4 million, but frankly, I think those figures are understated. And when you really look at it, I think it's a great opportunity for all of us because there's going to be that spring training. The Desert Diamond Cup still happens, and that's going to be televised worldwide at this point. So that's a real great opportunity for everybody to see how beautiful Tucson is in January and February.
You think, with the exception of a few charity games here and there, we'll ever see any Major League Baseball returning to Southern Arizona?
I think that's going to be very difficult. We would like to all see that happen, but frankly, the distance between ourselves and all those stadiums up there in Phoenix makes it very difficult for us to see very much of it other than just a few charity games. The economics just doesn't work for baseball.
And you will be setting the county's property tax rate on Monday. You have a slight bump in the property tax rates, but at the same time, you're working with property values that are a little lower than they were for the previous year. What do you expect? Where are the big priorities in next year's budget, and what do you think is going to happen with people's property taxes in general?
Well, I think property taxes are going to pretty much stay the same. It's going to be a wash for most everybody in terms of what they owe Pima County. For us, the big initiatives that are happening there at the county is raises for our employees. You know, that's something they have not had for over 5 years, and it was really time for them to have an opportunity to try and keep up with things. We also have some transportation issues that we're funding there in that budget, and some improvement to some county facilities. But really, it's a maintenance budget other than those raises for employees.
And how about our transportation system? That's something I hear a lot of complaints about. I'm sure you hear a lot of complaints about. And in terms of what the county can do with shrinking money from the state, less money from gas taxes and whatnot, what can the county do?
Well, it's unfortunate, but probably the best thing we can do is spend general fund money on transportation to maintain our roads in the best way that we can. Last year, we ended up putting about $20 million into our roads to improve them. And this year, we're starting out with $5 million, but we'll see how things go. And if we need to add in more, likely we will at that time. But it's a very difficult situation. Those revenues have been siphoned off by the state legislature and likely not going to return anytime soon. So it's a difficult situation at best. It's a situation that really hurts our businesses, and we recognize that. So we're struggling hard to make sure that we hit those roads that are important business corridors, but also improving roads that are bad safety problems for us.
And Pima County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry did come out with a memo with a number of suggestions, including a potential request for the legislature to consider raising the gas tax. Do you think that's a good alternative there?
I think it's a good alternative, but I think it's highly unlikely. You know, they haven't played with the gas tax since 1990, I think. So it's been ages, and it's just been sitting there at the same amount. And in the meantime, our businesses and our folks have suffered. Then siphoning off HERF revenues makes it even more difficult. So really, the solution needs to be a statewide one. That's why I say it might be a good solution to take a look at increasing the gas tax.
And the county wants to expand Tortolita Mountain Park. I think the idea is to leverage some county dollars to get a grant from the states, the Growing Smarter program, in order to purchase some state land property that's adjacent to the existing park. Of course, you're going to have people who are going to say, hey, we've got enough open space in the county. Why are you wasting money on this instead of developing it and capturing those tax dollars?
Right.
Your thoughts?
A really smart idea to buy this property. It's the last one of the properties in Pima County that were available under the Growing Smart program. And so the other two we've already gotten, Tumamoc Hill and a very important archaeological site on Valencia and I-19. The expansion of Tortolita Mountain Park, good deal. Anytime you can get the state to pay basically 2/3 of the cost of a land purchase, and we put in 1/3 of the cost, those dollars were already there in some excess revenue that we had left over from last year's budget, and some money that we had available for open space purchase. So just made a lot of sense. Unanimous vote of the Pima County Board of Supervisors, somewhat of a rarity these days.
And the county is also trying to get a sense of priorities of what residents would like to see in a potential upcoming bond election. What are your priorities in a upcoming bond election, and when do you anticipate going out to the voters to ask for those bonds?
We're really hoping for 2014. But I think that when you think about District 5 and its priorities and what's important to folks, I think the parks projects that are in that bond election right now are important to us. Neighborhood reinvestment, affordable housing, open space. I'd like to see an additional project that includes Literacy Connects and Job Path for a facility. But frankly, those are the real important issues, I think, in our bond election that we have in front of us right now. The funding for the roadways and stuff like that, I'm not sure that general obligation bonds are the best way to fund those kinds of projects. We've never done that before in the history of Pima County, so this would be the first time that we've ever done that. But there's no way to deny the importance of economic development in this election. So, you know, it's like a big bowl of cocido. Everybody has to have their hands in it and put a few things in there, and pretty soon it tastes really good to everybody.
And you anticipate November of 2014 would be a time when you could go out to the voters on that?
We're all really working hard to see that we can get it together by then.
And mountain lion shot up in Colossal Cave Park, which is owned by the county but actually managed by a private contractor along with an adjacent ranch. This mountain lion, judging from the reports from the Game and Fish, they were told not to kill the animal and they went ahead and killed it anyway. Does the county have any kind of authority over these concessionaires that run this park, and is there some action the board can take in this situation?
We are looking at that right now. We were very careful to not get involved until the criminal investigation had been concluded. There have been some charges that have been filed, and likely you will see the county make sure that all our concessionaires and subcontractors understand what the Game and Fish rules are. And likely there'll be some action taken against those individuals that were involved in what I consider to be a really horrendous, stupid display of man interfacing with wildlife.
And it looks like there's some changes to the county's holiday calendar on the agenda here. You're moving from celebrating Columbus Day to Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. What's the thinking behind this?
Well, you know, we heard from our employees, especially in the justice court system, that they wanted to see that kind of change happen. We didn't see much reaction from our employees. SEIU, our union, was supportive of the action. And since we made that vote to make that change, we haven't heard much of a rustle from anybody. So I think it was probably a good choice and something that people were ready for.
And the county is also looking to partner with a developer potentially to build a Formula One racetrack out by the Pima County Fairgrounds. It's a few years off probably before anything happens out there, but what's the thinking here?
Well, I think it's an economic development kind of project that people think will bring in some new revenue into our community and be an exciting amenity, again, similar to soccer, for folks here in our community. I think the project is fraught with environmental problems, from noise pollution to what you do with that many gasoline tanks in an area and stuff. But those are all things that you have to balance and weigh and make sure that you have the proper kind of restraints in any kind of contracts and deals that we make with people to operate that racetrack that would make it a good land use. It's a huge use of property. It's a major change for the Houghton corridor in that area. But again, you know, close to the fairgrounds is probably the most logical place to put that kind of facility.
And let me just wrap up the interview by talking to you a little bit about economic development, the county's economic development efforts. The Chamber of Commerce in the county have recently agreed on a sort of a agreement of, I guess, a Bill of Rights to speak of for the business community. What is going on with economic development in the county right now?
Well, I think you see us getting involved in a lot more kind of business ventures and making sure that we complete the projects that we have currently that are funded through bond money, so that we create some jobs, so we create some interest. Trying to keep up with the transportation issue is important for economic development, as I said earlier in our interview. All those things are what makes the old Pueblo what it is today. So any kind of connection that we have between those business parties that are involved in that agreement becomes more solid once we start to see that we have a great place, and we have a great past, and that we should recognize and honor that as we go about building a new economy for the region.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in today. That's all the time we're going to have. Supervisor Richard Elias, and we will be right back with some closing thoughts. That's our show for tonight, but you can learn more about politics by visiting azpm.org or by following us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Jim Ninsel. Thanks for watching another edition of AZ Illustrated Politics.